Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Masks Off. I am Kim,
And I'm Tia.
and we are so excited that you're here today with us. We have a really great episode on tap, but I'm going to start with a quote first. So, 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, snow in winter. If your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life. By Hui-K'ai. I said that right. K'ai, Chinese Zen Master. I practiced it. Still didn't come out right. So I was sharing with Tia an experience that I had. Today is Thursday, so Monday. And I was telling Tia how I was driving back from Boston to New York, and we are in the time of fall right now. So the foliage was absolutely gorgeous. The colors of the trees were stunning. And I have recently been exploring this whole notion of 0 point, which is what we're going to talk about today, or in this episode and in the next episode. But here's how this played out for me. So I'm driving along the highway and I'm looking at the trees and saying, oh my God, they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. Look how gorgeous. And I was taking it in and I was enjoying it and relishing. And then all of a sudden, I noticed that my thought train went to, okay, but you know what? Probably the next time I drive out to Boston to get my daughter from school, which will be around Thanksgiving, the trees are going to be bare. The leaves will be on the ground. The trees are going to be ugly. And everything is going to be brown and gross and cold and disgusting. And the fact that the leaves are off the trees means we are moving into winter, which then means it's going to be really cold, which means I'm going to be miserable.
Can't get outside.
I can't get outside. I can't enjoy, and da 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 da. Like the thought train went.
So you went from beauty to basically.
In nanoseconds.
Yeah.
In nanoseconds. And I was only able to really be aware of that because of all that we have been talking about in these podcasts, and just from the practice of becoming more mindful, more aware of what my thoughts do. So I started laughing at myself, right? Because I'm like, look at what I'm doing here.
Yep.
I had 3 hours in the car to do this and to just think about this. And what I realized was this. So what we're talking about is the judgment, the duality, like
good or bad.
Good and bad. The beautiful colors is good, but the leaves on the ground, the bare trees, is bad.
And it brings you back to that quote, right?
It brings back to the quote. Exactly. 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in the summer, snow in the winter. If your mind isn't clouded by the unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life.
Right.
Right now. And that's what we do, is we just get caught in the judgment, and then we go back to the past or forward to the future. And so what I was able to do was, okay, then I came back to like this center point of, all right, well, what do I need to do then? And it was just being in the moment and taking in the beauty of the trees without attaching some kind of storyline. It just is. It's just this moment. Just feel into the beauty of the color on the trees. That's the 0 point, right?
Right.
Is that what it is to you?
Yeah, and it's that non-duality 0 point of, it's not either or, it's both and. Right. To me, that's what it is. It's both and. So it can be beautiful and not beautiful at the same time. So that those trees can be incredible, and then you drive past a bunch of trees that aren't as beautiful. But who says they're not as beautiful?
I know.
It's because we've been conditioned to believe this is beautiful and that's not. So it's both. It can be beautiful and just what it is. It's that there's that image I think I shared it on my Facebook a couple of weeks ago, but that acceptance of the as is to me is also that non-dual 0 point. It's the image of it's raining. Oh, no, it's not. I can't have my picnic, or I need to get my umbrella. I can't go for my walk, whatever it is, versus it's raining. It just is. Those trees are beautiful. They just are.
Yeah. And not only that,
the story around it.
Exactly. And there is beauty. There is beauty and perfection in the fact that there are no leaves on the trees in winter, because when it snows and the snow sticks to the trees, if the leaves were there, think about well, again, catastrophe is still a storyline, right? But just think about the trees then that fall and break, or power lines go down because, so what I'm trying to say is, I think it was about 20 years ago where I live, we had a snowstorm in early October.
Oh, not good.
Right.
Oh, but there I went to a not good
I know, right? Used to not
so
good.
easy to do.
It's so easy. Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So we had a snowstorm in early October when the trees were fully, filled with leaves. And because the leaves were on the tree and the snow was so heavy, so many power lines went down. We were without power for a week.
Yeah.
So nature is brilliant in knowing that the leaves have to come off the trees to be prepared for the snow and for winter time. And it just is. It just is. It's just part of nature. And we go into all of the judgment about that.
Right. Right.
So we wanted, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just, and it's such a nice, simple example.
Yeah.
Because we can take it to all sorts of stuff right now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Let's take it, because that's a simple example, but now let's apply it to like our lives of what's happening on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And how we do the same. So you can apply the same thing.
Right.
So we were talking earlier about online school with coronavirus. Yep. Do you want to share maybe the example of the middle schoolers? Like that, I thought that was a beautiful example.
Yeah. I mean, so online school, it's really seems to be challenging for a lot of families and for the students, varying for each individual, varying for each family and their age of their kids and the situation. But I do a middle school survive versus thrive class that we started in the spring, and then Corona happened. So I do it with a friend of mine who's an artist. And we started in the spring. COVID happened, obviously. So we had done 2 of the 4 classes, and we had to stop the last 2 classes because we were all in quarantine. And so we restarted it back up I think we had 1 in August, and then we just had 1 this week. And we're doing a check-in with these amazing, these girls are just incredible. And asking, what's going good for you right now? What are you having struggles with? And it turned into a conversation about online school, because here everything is virtual. No schools are open in person yet in Wisconsin. Maybe they are in other parts of the state, but in Dane County, they're not. And so they're talking about what the challenge, it's hard, but it's better than it was in the fall. And then it turned into this amazing thing of this is what it is. I don't have to love it. I don't have to like it. Like one girl said, I get to watch my Zoom call or whatever platform they're using in my pajamas in bed. And then another girl's like, we get a whole hour for lunch. So I can meet my friend who was also in the group. So they were meeting up at a local coffee shop in middle school just to get a break, to get outside, to go for a walk, have lunch, grab something, get back in time for class. So they're seeing it's not good or bad. It just is. And so they brought these beautiful lessons of, do they love all of it? No, but they're seeing the benefits of it as well. And so we often, as adults in particular, just are looking, online school it's not nurturing our kids this way. It's not doing this. It's not doing that. It's that versus, well, but what about the other side? So it's we were talking before, the yin yang symbol.
Yep.
The dark, there's the dark, the light and the dark and the light, and finding that 0 point. I love that image that you had. It's that line of the yin and the yang. It's finding that. So can see both, and it's not either or, it's both and. So these amazing preteens just like, they found it on their own.
Yeah.
Because they're inherently in touch with who they are and what is. Now, that, again, it doesn't mean they didn't have complaints about it, but they also saw the light in there too. And it was just a beautiful example.
And I think is part of what we're like talking about is to just be mindful and aware of our dialogue, our inner dialogue of how much we judge. I mean, this honestly was a majority of my life, like just to put a story around everything that was happening. And not only that, but if you think about like most people, when you get together, even if it's just someone you haven't seen in a while and you bump into them in the grocery store or bump into them here, it's like, oh, well, how are you? And then all of a sudden it's like, you just start telling these stories. Well, this is bad, that, the kids aren't doing that. Or it's really good. Like, oh yeah, my kid's going to this college and she got this award and she did this, or it's this duality that you were saying, this good or bad. And what I know for myself is that, and it still can happen when I'm not paying attention, it's this ping pong back and forth in my mind, this chatter in my mind of judging and evaluating everything.
Yeah. Well, it's easier to go there because then we don't have to feel.
Exactly.
You know, if that makes sense. It's when we go into judgment, we don't have to look at our shadows. We don't have to look at that stuff we don't want to look at. So we project it outwards instead.
Or some people implode inward.
Yeah.
You can implode inward and just go in and like, oh my God, like, if it's, say, for example, if it's me with eating, like, oh, I can't believe I ate that ice cream last night. Like, oh, I can't believe I had that candy bar, and as I'm able to move more into 0 point with that, it's becoming more, it just is. Okay. Yep. I had a candy bar. It just is. It's not good or bad. It was when I was stuck in the good food versus bad food. And if I ate the bad food, then I was bad. Bad food being
you're bad.
And then I'm bad.
There. Yeah.
All the time with that.
And it's not true now.
Exactly. What I eat does not make me good or bad.
No.
And I would do the same thing with my workout routine as well. If I didn't go, to work out 5 days and I only needed 3 or 4, it used to be that, oh God, I'm bad, so I would go inward with that, but I could also go outward too. Outward meaning like I was sharing, watching all the choices that my kids are making.
Yeah.
Oh my God, and from a place of fear, more so like if my son is eating like his daily diet consists of sugar. That's his main food staple. Sugar all day long.
Food group.
That's his food group. Sugar and carbs all day long. And he's been working a ton of hours lately. Even that I'm making a judgment about. Even the fact that he's working 11-hour days.
Wow. That's a lot.
I'm saying to myself like, oh, that's not good. That's not good. He's going to run himself down. Here's the storyline. Here's the story that I'm attaching.
Okay.
His food group is sugar and carbs, and he's working 10 hours a day. And a lot of times he doesn't even eat before he goes to work. There's absolutely no way that he can sustain this. He's going to get sick. And even more, if I really am honest with all of you, where my thoughts, he's going to get coronavirus. He's going to get coronavirus because his immune system is run down.
Right.
Do I know that for sure? Do I absolutely know that for sure? Right. So on the one hand, I can go all the way over on the one side of the duality into the worry. And I know we all do this. We worry about our elderly parents, or we worry about our kids. Right. So what's the opposite of worry? Would it be
acceptance?
Acceptance, or is acceptance the middle? Is that more the middle?
Oh, okay. Putting your head in the sand, pretending everything's going to be, I'm just not even going to deal with it. I'm just going to pretend and live in my little happy place where nothing bad ever happens.
Yes, like that kind of, exactly. That's the other side of that, right?
Yeah.
So back and forth, the flip flop, you know, it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad with what he's doing. Whereas if you come into the middle of the yin yang, it's just like, okay, it's just breathe. It just is in this moment.
Exactly.
And that's
in
the
the
thing.
now.
In the now, in this moment.
It's all we know.
It's all we know. In this moment, he's okay.
And then that moment's already passed. So now it's the next moment.
It's the next moment.
And then it's the next and the next and the next and the next.
And who's to say if what my fears are, if they do come to fruition, who is to say that that's bad?
Exactly.
Who's to say that's not what he needed? Right. For maybe a wake-up call. Oh, again, I'm attaching a story a little bit, but who knows? It's just like the trees that lose their leaves. It just is. Maybe that's it has to happen. The leaves have to fall. That's just nature. It just is. Right. We don't sit there and really question it. We may not like it, but we're like, okay, it's wintertime. Leaves are gone. It is.
Right. And it again comes back to all that cultural conditioning, expectations put on by family, by, the government, by stuff we see on TV or not, whatever. All the stories are pummeled at us that this is bad, that is good. Yeah. But maybe that quote bad thing, doing the little air quotes for those of you listening, isn't bad. Maybe that quote, what we think is bad, actually is exactly what you needed to elevate yourself to another layer of consciousness, another layer of authenticity. Because if we're just going along, not experiencing any hardships, not experiencing any challenges, we don't grow. 100%. We stay stagnant, and we don't have the ability or the opportunities to question our thoughts, to go within, to peel back that layer, look at that shadow, nurture our inner child, release a layer. If we don't have those challenges, those quote bad things. And the same goes with the good things, right? We can be so focused on the good, that whole positivity thinking, which has its place. But for me, I think that can be harmful as well, because if you go so far to the extreme, oh, just look at the positive, find the good, don't even acknowledge that there's a challenge or a bad thing. Again, just using this language because it's how we can understand it. We aren't embracing all that life is. And it's kind of the opposite what you're saying of worry. That's that everything is great, I'm going to put my head in the sand and not even see that big ugly monster that's right over there screaming at me that you need to address this. No, I can't. It's just positive. That's the other extreme.
Yes, we still need to feel our feelings, right? And that's
all the feelings.
Yeah, all the feelings. And that's what I was sharing with you yesterday. Remember, it's about being neutral and not numbing, because so that came up for me. We could talk about this a little bit more in the next episode as a way of dealing with it, the neutral versus numbing as well. And then just maybe we can just finally also maybe mention and bring up, because this is election, that is where you can really go into big time judgment, big time. This is good, this is bad, depending on the outcome. And again, we may not know exactly today what the outcome is for the election, but there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of everything with coronavirus, with the election. There's so much anxiety going on. Yep. And so really, like, you and I are wanting to have this conversation and we'll do more in the next episode, to give some ways of thinking about this and some tools to kind of bring the anxiety level down.
Exactly. And, and, we don't know, this is airing. We're 99% sure this is going, this episode's being released on election day. And so if you're feeling nervous or anxious or worried that X might happen or Y might happen, what you want versus what may not be what the outcome is. Yeah. Just lean in and just observe, be like a little fly on the wall and watch what's coming up for you. What story are you saying? If this person is elected, then, oh my goodness, all this is going to happen and it's going to be the end of this or the end of that. How do you know that?
I know.
Or maybe that's the path that this country needs to take right now for this other thing to happen. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, I know. By the sounds of it at the time of this recording, we're likely not going to have an answer today when you're listening of what the outcome is. It may be who knows when, or maybe we'll know. Maybe it'll be very obvious. But either way, no matter what happens, come back to the present moment and just notice.
Absolutely.
Whichever way. And if what you want happens, just remember that's not what likely half of the country wanted anyway. So they're feeling the opposite. So just
it's a perfect example of duality.
Place right in the middle of just being in the now.
And I think just to add to one more thing to go with what you're saying about, what does happen, like you might think it's not a good thing, and how do you know if it's good or bad? Like, how many times in your life can you look back and remember and think like, oh, I wanted this to happen, or I wanted that to happen, and something completely different showed up, and you would never have predicted that thing was going to show up in your life, and it ended up being like just what you needed. Like, can you think about, I can remember times like, oh, I wanted this to happen and that never happened, but something else did.
Just being open to receive.
Yeah.
And that puts you out of resistance, and resistance creates suffering.
Yeah. So, and the anxieties, the suffering, and the fear, and all that judgment and anger and bitterness. There are so many people right now with the election that are just, the emotions are so high, just feeling angry and bitter and fearful and anxious.
Yeah.
Even my daughter, she's super charged. And it's okay to like be passionate, but again, how much are those, just being mindful of the emotions, how much are they taking over your own well-being? Like your own centered, your own 0 point. If you are just really all the way tipping to one side, you're out of balance.
Yeah. I notice when I get caught up, and then I'll like lean in to that. We can talk more about this in the next episode.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wrap this one up, but really quick, just a teaser maybe for the next episode is when, just talking election related, when it comes up and I go into how can someone support that type of language, that type of putting other people down, that type of animosity towards groups of people, but then embracing other groups doing things that I don't, that are not legal, but, so I can go there and get myself riled up. And then I have to remember, okay, so this is shining a light on what needs to be shined on to create change. It's bringing this stuff up into the light, and this is, of course, from my point of view, knowing other people have very different perspective on it, but saying, okay, if this were to happen, okay, then this gives an opportunity for me to lean in, be a conscious activist, but that starts with me. Conscious activism starts with me. I actually had a conversation with my daughter about this because she is, they're talking about that in a class. And so she had to interview someone about activism, and with Corona, she's like, will you talk to me about it? I'm like, sure. But it really helped me. It was such a great hour of back and forth, answering her questions, but I had to go within and notice, it's like, I can't speak up if I don't have an alignment of, I can have an opinion and I can feel what I feel is right, but I have to be in alignment within. So it's not necessarily, it's the both and, right? So it's like, I believe we need to make these changes, and this is how I can do it internally. So now I can support it externally without the duality. Yeah. So even though it's taking a stand, it's not a charged stand, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It totally does. So you have to, so it's that saying of be the change, be the change that you want.
Right. It's kind of like back to our episode way back when about anti-racism.
Yes.
I have to do and continue to do my inner anti-racism work. And part of that is being an advocate and speaking up.
Yep.
Because to me, Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And so I, as a white woman, need to do my inner work to speak up, but not in a place of uproar. For me, that's what works for me. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's that the yin yang.
It's the middle. Back. It's the 0 point.
And change happens in many different ways. But if I'm going to cause someone to get defensive, I'm not going to get through to them. Anyway.
I know.
And that's at myself too.
Yeah. Oh, great episode.
All right. So we're going to talk about this more.
Yes. Next one.
A little more about how do we find that point, that non-dual point, that both and a little more. We touched on it, but how do we do it?
A little more.
We'll share.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thank you everybody for listening and for watching if you're on YouTube. And we always do appreciate all of your support. We've had some comments on the YouTube page, so thank you so much. We love to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed to YouTube or to the podcast, please do so. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks. Bye.